Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Blisson, and today we are talking about food and wine pairing techniques. Basically going to give you a couple guidelines to make it easier to order wine in a restaurant or buy a bottle for dinner. Ordering wine in a restaurant can be super intimidating. The big list, the hovering waiter, but no need to panic. You really just need to remember these two simple things. First of all, the waiter or sommelier is there to help you, not to stress you out. Just give them a couple ideas of wines or wine styles that you like, and they should, if they have any talent for their job, be able to give you a couple of good suggestions. Understanding a couple food and wine pairing techniques will help you communicate to a waiter in a restaurant or a merchant in a wine shop the style of wine that you're looking for. Secondly, this is not a math equation. There are no wrong answers. If you want to drink Pinot Grigio with steak, go for it. That being said, I do recommend trying out some more conventional food and wine pairings just so you can see what all the fuss is about. Think about it in terms of food. Olive oil can taste delicious on its own, but if you sprinkle some sea salt in it, it's even better. The right combination of wine and food will enhance both elements so you get more out of your glass and your plate. An easy rule of thumb that works in most situations is matching like for like. Start with quality. You want to pair your wine to the equivalent quality levels of your food. If you're having simple, everyday food, you're going to want to pick an easy drinking, smooth, rounded wine. If, however, you're making something fancy for a dinner party, you're going to want a wine of equivalent complexity. You wouldn't pour ketchup all over an expensive dish in a fancy restaurant. Picking a cheap wine that clashes with the flavors or overpowers them, it's like doing that. You want to pair light, delicate foods with light-bodied wines and bold, flavorful dishes with fuller-bodied wines. Same situation with acidity. Acidic foods call for acidic wines. Why? Because a low-acid wine is going to seem flat and heavy with a really acidic ingredient like lemon or tomato. High-acid wines are also a really good thirst-quenching option for salty foods. Think about oysters and champagne. Fruity foods go well with fruity wines. And finally, rich, creamy dishes tend to go well with full-bodied, layered, creamy textured wines. Buttery lobster is dynamite with the richer style of Chardonnay. The major exception, because there always is one, is sweetness. You need to be careful with sweetness because a very sweet dessert with a very sweet wine can be a bit sickly. What you want to do is pair a sweet wine with a slightly less sweet dessert. Sweet wines also go very well with rich, salty things like salted nuts or certain hard cheeses or blue cheeses. Another important facet of food and wine pairing is tannin. Tannin can give a very drying, sometimes bitter sensation on the palate, and you want to be careful not to pair highly tannic wines, big red wines like Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, Malbec, with delicate fare because it's really going to overpower and dry out the flavors. What you want to do when you're faced with a bold red wine is to pair with a big, bold piece of meat. Tannins in wine bind with and soften the proteins in meat. It makes the meat taste more succulent and the wine less astringent. Once you get confident about food and wine pairing rules, it's time to break them. Contrasting flavors can be equally interesting. Think about that creamy, rich sauce we talked about earlier. Pairing with a heavy, full-bodied wine might be a bit overpowering for your palate. You might prefer a tangy, crisp, lighter wine that's going to cut through the fat and facilitate digestion. Think about how well lemon and butter work together in sauces. When it comes to spicy foods, wines that are slightly off dry with bright acidity and light in body are your best option. The sweetness will temper the heat from the spice and the mouth-watering acidity will refresh the palate. I hope these tips help. Send me a comment if you have any questions and join me next week for more tips on how to order wine in a restaurant. Santé!